So tell me about your Mount Everest. What are you looking to achieve over the next 5 years?
My Mount Everest is
getting into RV parks.
Saying about setting the date.
Provide safe and affordable housing for 1,250 people transitioning out of rehab centers.
Welcome to the Discovering Mount Everest podcast. I'm your host, Mundo Sanchez, two-time CFO of the Year and Forbes featured entrepreneur. Every week, I sit down with powerful voices from the Owners Club to uncover their personal Mount Everest and the bold visions they're chasing over the next 5 years. This podcast gives you a rare front row seat into the mindset of elite entrepreneurs and investors, what drives them, what challenges they're navigating, and how you might play a role in their ascent. So whether you're scaling your own peak or seeking to support others in their journey, you're in the right place. Let's begin the climb. Today is episode 8, and I have two special guests today. This is the first time I'm actually doing a podcast with two special guests. Oh, usually nice. It's just one-on-one, so now we have two today. So we have Kevin and Marcie. Thank you for joining today. Yes. Excited to dive in and learn all about what you guys are doing. So nice. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. We're really grateful to be here with you, Mundo.
We're in beautiful, it's hard for the audience to see, but we're in beautiful sunny California at the Owners Club retreat. So really excited to dive in to learn more about your background. And I like to start off with just understanding your background, like from the beginnings. I would love to hear any trials, tribulations, things that you had to overcome over the years, because it's really easy to see people in Owners Club that there's a perception that everyone in Owners Club is highly successful, and pretty much majority of them are, right? Because it's a hefty price tag to join Owners Club, so you have to have some level of success just to afford the entry point. And when you see people that do really well, it's, oh, that person just has a lot of money. That's why they're doing well. But what they don't see is the 5, 10, 15, 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears that went into it to get to that point to where you may be. So I would love to roll things back and talk about your journey from where you started, both of you, and to where you are.
Now, starting our journey as far as from way back entrepreneurship or the real estate journey?
That's a great question. Either one. I think both. Real estate is a business.
Sure.
It's definitely a business. People think it's passive, especially if you're operating. You better be running it as a business. So real estate, entrepreneurship, to me, it goes hand in hand. So I'd love to hear all of it.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, thank you for the opportunity. We're grateful to be here. And yes, it's beautiful out here in Monterey. A little backstory on me. My name's Kevin Thompson. I'm originally from Southern California. Left Southern California in 1982, moved to Dallas, Texas. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I had it in my blood from a very young child. I used to paint numbers on a curb. My dad made me a little metal template, and when people have your addresses on the curb, I started when I was like 7, 8 years old. I was going around painting numbers on a curb. Then he made me this great big nail, and he glued it with heat and put a file, and I was selling nail files door to door. So I was a door-to-door salesman at the ripe old age of about 8. Went into different businesses along the way. That was before you didn't have to worry about your kiddo getting taken by anybody. Yeah. And I started my journey there, then moved out to Texas, and I've done several different businesses along the way. I've been in the transportation business. I've owned a couple different businesses, partnered with friends that became good business partners. Did a candle manufacturing business. My daughter owns that now. Had that for 10 years. Yes, candles, not camels, because they were like, you, a candle man? Yes, I was the candle man. And
love it.
Yeah, killer candles. And did that. So then we fast forward, did several different businesses, and then all of a sudden, Marcie and I got together in 2009, and I met her in Salt Lake City, Utah. We dated long distance for a little over a year. Long distance relationships work.
We were geographically unfavorable.
Yes, it was.
But it still lasted.
Yeah, people talk about, I can't date him or her. They live in
That's hard.
2 cities away. It's hard, but we live 1,280 miles apart and 3 states away. But we made it work. When it's meant to happen, it will happen. So our journey into real estate is we were part of a mastermind group with another couple. We originally got into a group about 10 years ago, but long story short, one of the people we're in had a high security clearance with Raytheon energy contract company. She didn't want to give up her social security number for this guy to approve us to start doing business together. So we dropped out of that, and then we found another real estate company. I don't want to mention names, but they didn't have a community that backed them up very well. It had a lot of videos, but no support, not much online support. And then we were on a Zoom, and the special guest was from the Sub-2 community, and he started talking about a Morby method. And we're like, what is a Morby method? And he goes, oh, you ever heard of Pace Morby? And I was like, Pace Morby, is that a real person? He goes, yeah, Pace Morby. And then obviously now we looked him up on YouTube, found Sub-2 Gator, and the rest is history. And now here we are 2 years into this, and we're loving this journey. We love this community, and especially we love Gator Sub-2, but we really love this whole Owners Club community that we're at.
Yeah. So yes, we met in Utah, had our journey here to Dallas, Texas, which is where we're originally from, where we're doing a lot of our projects out of. And yes, we had the two different mentorships or whatever that people always say, you know, oh, they're so expensive, right, for mentorships to get into them. But I'm a firm believer, like whatever room that you're trying to place yourself in, it's not the room, but it's like your own atmosphere. And we talk about that a lot just because we're in self-development. But it's taking action. It's being in the room. It's providing the conversation. But yeah, from our real estate perspective, we just took a what do you call it? The bull by the horns.
Yeah, we did, in a leap of faith. And we know this from business. Like I said, I haven't had a W-2 since 1992. So I've always known we've studied personal development, and from business ventures in the past, the whole adage of being in the right room. And I tell people, as far as getting in the right room, this is the right room, because you have so many people, such diverse backgrounds. You have people that are coming in from the real estate sector, but you have business owners. You have people that are looking to buy businesses, multiple businesses. So you see such a cross-segregation of talent and skill sets. And it's just not real estate, but it's all of these things coming together. And it's all under one umbrella. And not only in the real estate, then the creative finance and the ways that you can do real estate and the way you can finance it and lock up properties is just incredible. We just love this journey. We just love these people because they challenge you to really step your game up. And we thought we had our game stepped up, but it makes you take it to a whole nother level. And as far as you were saying, Mundo, about your challenges, it's so easy to look at these people, like you said earlier, and see where they've been so successful. But a lot of times, it isn't always successful. I've started some businesses that were successful, but I've had some epic fails along the way. I have fallen flat on my face before. I poured my heart and soul into a business and put a year and a half, 2 years in it, and lost over $100,000 on the deal, and a year and a half of my time, and it was an epic fail. But the problem is, a lot of people, I love the way Robert Kiyosaki from Rich Dad, Poor Dad says, he goes, and this is a profound statement that really stuck with me through the years. And that book changed my trajectory on entrepreneurship back in 2000. But he said, the fear of failure for most people is stronger than the reward of success. And what happens when people do step out, decide to do entrepreneurship and start their own business, if it fails, they cash in and go, that's not for me. And they label themselves as a failure, but in reality, most of the time, they're not the failure. Maybe the business proposition was a failure. Maybe they didn't think through the financials. Maybe they didn't have the infrastructure. Maybe they didn't have the mentorship. Maybe they didn't have the support around them that they needed. But they internalize that and put it on themselves instead of, and then a lot of them, most times, don't ever step up to the plate and take another swing at it. Yeah. And that's the sad part about for entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, when they try and they fail, if they would just regroup, and get back in the game, they would. You never know. Their next success could be right around the corner.
Yeah. I mean, it's really about the people that just don't give up. And sometimes the people that are really successful aren't even like crazy intelligent because they're not smart enough to figure out like all these different outside factors, voices telling them like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this doesn't make financial sense. And sometimes people are just like, this is what I do and I'm just not going to quit. And they just figure it out. You eventually just beat your head against the wall enough times, you'll stumble upon something, whether it be God or the universe, whatever. It's pulling in your direction the more effort that you put in.
Absolutely. I like the way Sylvester Stallone said it. Everybody knows him from Rocky. It doesn't matter how many times you're knocked down. It matters how many times you get up. I love catchphrases because they're just words of wisdom to live by. But you just got to keep getting up, and you just have to be. And you said that, Mondo. You have to be tenacious.
Yeah.
You have to have that never quit mentality, and when you have that, you'll succeed. Because Darren Hardy is also the editor-in-chief of Success Magazine, and he says if you want to increase your success, double your rate of failure. Now it sounds like an oxymoron when you first hear it, but the point is, we all fail. Some of the most successful people in the world, world-renowned investors, entrepreneurs, businessmen, have hit rock bottom sometimes, and some of them have completely bankrupt 2 or 3 times. But what is different about them than most people is, like you said earlier, they pick themselves up and they keep going. They have a never quit, never die, don't give up kind of mentality. I love that about it.
Yeah, take someone like, not to bring politics in this at all, but if you just look at the resume and the things that have happened to a guy like Trump, like he went bankrupt, right? And when he left the court, after his bankruptcy, he pointed to a homeless guy and he was like, this guy's worth more money than me. And the guy just continues to, like, again, forget about the personality and all that other stuff, but as far as like the tenacity, and he just does not quit. And then he built something up to be this huge real estate empire. The guy just did not quit. Got kicked in the face and got right back up many times. And that's what it takes. Even, it's that saying, new level, new devil. Even once you get past like the initial startup phase, which is the hardest phase to get through because most people fail and they don't make it to that next phase, it comes with new challenges, right? Now you got to hire people, right? Let's say you're finally making money and you need to scale out your team and hire more and more people, and that becomes more and more headaches. And now you got to worry about a whole other dynamic where a lot of people don't even want to step outside that zone of being an owner-operator. They just want to manage everything themselves. Way more work involved to get to that next level. And then the next level of headaches. Every level has a different tier of headaches, and if you want headaches to go away, just get out of the game. Right. And then you have more headaches because you're out of the game and then you don't have cash flow coming in. So either way, there's headaches. So you just got to pick what you want.
I love that. New levels, new devils. And many successful. Michael Dell, look at him. Bill Gates, they come almost crash on the rocks. Steve Jobs. You just always have to just stay consistent. It's all about being consistent at it and being intentional about what you're wanting to do too.
I think too, just even thinking of our story from a entrepreneurial standpoint, right? Because you come from a history of entrepreneurship. You've had it for over 20-some years, where I grew up in a family where my whole family was entrepreneurial, but I was not. Because you see the uncertainty of income, and then that makes you fearful. So going back to a family of having all that entrepreneurship around me, and then being lifted up and inspired by a spouse who now does the same thing, right? It makes you hungry. You're like, okay, clearly I missed the message in that when I was growing up, right? Because they always say to go back when you're 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, because those are when your dynamics of how you think about and where you're going and what you want to do is really built. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of that to be said for people to like really understand like what they want before they dig into real estate and really dig into the entrepreneurship side of it, because it is a business, but it's a business for people though, because I think real estate itself, we always talk about this, that real estate is like the icing on the cake.
We're in the people business.
You're in the people business, and people will always tell me, because I'm a salesman, you're a salesman at heart, and we've done that for a long time. But you get up every morning and you sell yourself. You're going to sell yourself to the seller to get the deal from them. You're going to sell yourself to whoever it is that you're making the deal with. The realtor when you make a call, right? For your direct agent type thing. When you're a bird dog and you're trying to call somebody at Owners Club saying, hey, I want to sell you a deal. You're a seller all the time. So that's the piece that we always remind people about.
Yeah.
Tell me about your guys' vision for the future. So what is your Mount Everest that you guys are focused on for the next 5 years?
All right. You want to tell them?
You go ahead and I'll fill it in.
Okay. We have a goal of we're in the co-living space. We love to rent by the room because we're turning into a renter nation. And we want our Mount Everest is to have 1,000 doors and have several different communities. We have a passion for aged out foster children. She's had a passion for foster children before we even got into real estate. I have a deep passion and a heartfelt hunger to help our vets, because our vets, I love our vets, but our vets have went and bled and died and come back crippled and discarded in a lot of ways in our society, and there's such a need for vet housing, and so sober living and that kind of stuff. We want to help protected classes, but just people in general. There's a lot of people that are just struggling, that just can't afford. This is the first generation in the history of our country that they're not as good off as the generation before. The average median house is over $400,000, and most people coming out of college with massive debt don't have $80,000, $90,000 to put down on a house. And we're turning into a renter nation, and whether you like it or not, it's a sad statistic, but it's one nonetheless. And we're trying to offset that and try to bring affordable housing, good clean homes, and good kind of community living vibe for people like that. So that's our Mount Everest, and it's a big one. We're about 5% of the way there.
Hey, that's a start, right?
It's a start.
30 doors, 1,000, we're almost there.
We're on the way. But I like the way Pace says. He goes, Howard, he says, if you can figure out your Mount Everest in your head, it's not big enough. And I love the way because he stretches you. And so he goes, whatever your goal is, how audacious, double it. And it's a huge goal for us. And right now, on paper, mathematically, it doesn't look, we don't see how it's going to work out. But I've learned and known and been around enough of these people and talked to enough people in this industry that you can get to a certain point where it takes on a mind of its own. It's almost like the old adage of a locomotive. It takes forever to get it up to speed, but it's so hard to stop it once it is. And once you get to a certain point, then it becomes an exponential curve. And that's when the real growth will happen in your business. So if we just keep putting our nose to the grindstone, per se, day in and day out, and doing what we need to do, and just keep following through, we're going to get there. And we're super excited about the future. We're really excited on this journey we're in. We love the people we're in around, and we just have so many like-minded individuals, and it's a great journey. And I'm very grateful every day to be, especially in Owners Club. Like you said, we paid a lot of money to be here, but they help you level up. You just can't help but level up your game. I thought my game was leveled up. I showed up here, I was like, whoo, man, these people, they play at another level. Step it up, Kevin. So, yeah, loving it. But I love to be challenged and pushed. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I don't think Owners Club is for everybody. You need to be in the right mindset, because let's say you take someone who's really successful in their W-2, maybe they have mindset issues, they've never done a deal, probably not a good fit, right? Because you could get into this environment and be like super intimidated on all the people around you, and you could almost feel like it is the right room, but if you're not in the right frame of mind, the right mindset, it's not the right room for you right now. And so that's a big thing for people to consider, is that you should be in the same headspace, whether the results reflect that or not. You need to be in the right mindset to come here and get that value that you want to level up. And I think everyone probably has some level of imposter syndrome, but you should be leaving this place feeling motivated about the people and connections you've made, and not leaving, oh no, I'm never going to achieve any of this, so I'm just going to give up.
It's a good point, Mundo. Excuse me. That it's easy to have, excuse me, allergies going crazy. It's easy to have imposter syndrome, but at the same time, human beings by nature, we live in a society, it's all about the art of comparison. And society, we live in a social media bubble where everything, people go online and they see that everybody puts on their best face, their Instagram, TikTok, whatever face. Yeah. But you got to get out of the art of comparison. And everybody has their own lane, their own journey, and their own fulfillment and vision for themselves. But as long as you just go, if you just keep doing better, a little better, 1% better every day, you're going to get there. And you just can't look at the people, because it doesn't matter who you are. There's always going to be somebody. I had this conversation with a guy in the lobby here earlier today, and there's always going to be somebody that's richer, more successful, more influence, more of whatever it is. That's the way of the world. We look at the person that put this together. The biggest go-giver I know is Pace Morby. And we're like, oh, if we could only be like Pace someday. Pace looks up to people. One of Pace's mentors is Kim McElroy. Okay, and Pace has over 2,000 doors. Kim McElroy has over 10,000 doors. And when Pace says, oh my God, he says, Kim McElroy is amazing. He's my mentor. I've learned so much from him. And I promise you, Kim McElroy has a mentor that he looks up to, and probably knows a guy that has 50,000 doors. and so on and so forth, all the way up to the richest man in the world. So it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. You just got to get out of that headspace of trying to compare yourself to other people, and just because what will happen is you'll disempower yourself. I have fallen into this, so I speak from experience. So like when you talk about failures, I try to be perfectly transparent, because I had imposter syndrome when I first came in around some of these people, and then all of a sudden I grabbed a hold of myself and go, wait a minute, Kevin, you deserve to be here too. You have a story. You've had trials and tribulations. You've had incredible success. It may not have been in the real estate sector, but it doesn't matter. I know what it's like to start from nothing and build it into something that's 7-figure. So I've been there and done that. And I've learned that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in the room. I like the way Pace put in a chat about a week ago, that don't come in here thinking that you don't belong. Because if you start dwelling on that, you'll minimize yourself. You paid to be here. You deserve to be here. You're here. And take it in, because if all you think about is comparing yourself to other people, you're going to leave deflated and disempowered and beat down. But just come into this with a winner's mentality, and I deserve to be here. And like you said earlier, we can all have imposter syndrome, but you got to overcome that, and you just can't dwell on it, and just stay focused on the positive and just let the negative fall to the side.
Yeah, and I think it was Jesse Stanton who actually did that post, right? That we were like analyzing right before we came into this. And he put that post up. I don't know if you saw him, but it was great.
Every day he's got amazing stuff. So which one are you talking about?
He had the one where he met with Owners Club members. And he said, what do you want to make this immersion? What are you going in to define? What's the one person? What's the one contact? What is your one challenge that you need to find that connection? And I think that's not just true for Owners Club, but it's like when you walk into that next networking meeting, what is your objective?
Yeah.
What's the one person that could take you to the next level? And I think for us, that's what we're constantly looking at now. What's the next person, the next contact that has, we always say, that holds the key to our treasure chest, right? Who is that next contact? So for us, that's like definitely somebody that's going to level us up in co-living, right? We ended up partnering with Brian Metzen on the container home that you said.
For vets down in Houston.
For Lou Bersanudo, he does some co-living that's down in Houston. And then, of course, we join ranks with Rhea Campbell, because if you want to level up and you want to see how people underwrite and how aggressive or objective they are looking at deals, like she is paving the way. She's just incredible. So, like, each one of these pieces, though, come together like a puzzle. And, like, even coming here, met up with Ben and Michelle. Yeah. Ocho had some lunch with them. So I think it just depends on, like, that connection and who you want to partner up with. And if we learn nothing else, it's to JV with people.
JV, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And the thing about Jesse Stanton, and I've never met him in person, I'm going to meet him this weekend, but I met him on Zoom, and the nicest, most gracious guy, tons of wisdom, super inspirational, have utmost respect for that man. And just be intentional, and we literally took to heart. And one of the things that I wanted to learn here is learn podcasting, because we want to get into podcast. And guess what, Mundo? Here we are sitting with you, and before we even started, we were walking around, we were looking at all your production setup, and you gave me the full tour of what it takes to be podcast. And I just learned a mountain of information from you in the last 45 minutes to an hour, watching you set up your production. And it was huge. And you just showed me stuff that cost you days and hours of time, and lots of frustration.
A lot of frustration.
And so I just got to hack that time down to a matter of just a minute or two. So I'm grateful for that. Then one of the other things is since we're in the co-living space, I wanted to find a home builder in Dallas that was building from the ground up for co-living. And just before this podcast, about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, Louver introduced me to a guy named Earl Hoosman, I think that's how you say his name, out of Dallas. Phenomenal individual, nice guy, very gracious, very humble, and we're going to collaborate on a ground-up construction, and I'm
amazing.
Super excited.
The retreat hadn't even started. That's amazing.
The first session, and I'm already not checking the boxes big time.
That's awesome.
It's incredible.
It's the intention.
It's all being intentional, and it's been amazing so far.
That's amazing. So you guys need 1,000 doors. What does that look like for people in the community or people watching? How do they help you achieve that? Is it sending you deals? having operators? Is it raising capital? What does that look like for you guys as far as what you need?
Do you want me to touch on that?
Sure. I've been doing a lot of talking. Go ahead.
It's from the integrator heart over here, but I would say from an overall objective, number one, for funding is that like for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So we're always looking for people that want to learn about co-living and want to earn and learn, right? So if somebody wants to be a private money partner in one of your deals, then that's probably the most quickest way to do it. That's how we learned about it. The other thing is our whole concept to co-living has been purposeful investing. So we're working with organizations within, say, the Dallas Metroplex, right, that have a need. It's not just the pad split model. It's bringing in other people in the community, from people that are supporting the homeless to people that are supporting aged out foster care or veterans. So that's the other objective to the process. But then the other item too is just being transparent and instilling trust and understanding that those projects that we are working on, that we are private money lenders, right? So we have that due diligence that we did on our deals and know that's what those other people that would invest in our projects are going to expect in return. And I think that's the piece that's important too.
And part of this too, when we first came in, we hear about the whole lone wolf thing. And I've been pretty guilty of I don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I don't want to show weakness or just that I need help. And it's one of those basic things that a lot of humans wrestle with. But now we've come to the conclusion that we want to partner on everything. I love the way Rhea Campbell, and we partnered with Rhea Campbell on her $1 million project. And Rhea Campbell says that now, and she's ultra successful too, and she has an incredible story, and everybody knows who Rhea Campbell is, and she's amazing. But Rhea says everything I do, every single deal I do with a partner, not only do I do it with a partner, I do it with a partner almost exclusively within the Sub-2 Owners Club community. And so when you're part of this community, and it's a tight-knit community, it's better because you not only you share everything, you share the victories, you share the defeats, you share the struggles, you share the accomplishments. You grow together. You go and grow together, and we love that part about it. So partnership, we want to go far, so we're going together. And I've got rid of that lone wolf mentality. I don't mind asking. I don't mind showing that I may not know what you know, but I'm here to learn. And I can humble myself enough to go, hey, I don't know what you know. Please show me. Please teach me.
Yeah. Well, then I think the other thing that kind of parlays with that is that we're like the funding piece of it, right? So I'm an accredited PML and DSCR broker, so I'm like, okay, yeah, bring me the deals. But then there's so many people that are in that space that are saying bring me the deals, and so we just thought, okay, we'll create a space where people can understand what are all the different opportunities, because that was our fear factor when we first got into the real estate, because they're like, yeah, you don't need to use your money, just use other people's money. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can do the seller finance thing, but what if that doesn't work? You got the hybrid, okay, all right, the Morby method, you got all these different things that you can leverage and use, but it's like, how cool would it be just to have one area that you could go there and be like, oh my gosh, there's this and there's that. There's so many tools in your tool belt to understand how to leverage real estate.
So are you pretty active in the DSCR? You mentioned the loan brokering part. What kind of products are you providing in that?
It's a beta phase right now for the one that I'm really high level working, and it's called AI Brokers. And the concept of it is there's about approximately 1,000 different vendors, we'll say, or funding opportunities, right, of the different companies from high level. You got Stone Templeview is in there. You've got several other high level hard money lenders that are in there. And then you've got just the private money lenders themselves, right? So you can be a vendor on one of these opportunities. So think of it like a waterfall, right? If somebody says, oh, I'm looking for a fix and flip, I want it to be $200,000. It's just going to go down this waterfall effect and say, hey, who was looking at getting this potential type of deal funded? So then you have that opportunity, right? And you can bring in the funding that's needed, however it's needed. And it's AI. So you're just calling in your application, and then you get a term sheet in 24 hours.
I'm curious, how expansive is that checklist of questions? Like if you look at the
questions.
What about Morby method, for example? So you have to find a lender that is open for second positions, because that's typically what happens in Morby methods.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those questions would be a lender that allows second positions, or how does that fall under complex situations that?
Yeah, you'll have the opportunity to have that. That's in one of the questions.
Okay. And are there any co-living products out there? I've started to see some pop, not a ton, but I've seen some pop up, because traditionally, as you probably know, when you're getting a DSCR loan, there was really, in a traditional sense, two underwriting methods: short-term rental, long-term rental, nothing in between and outside of that. But I think as the market's starting to tighten, it's a pretty rough real estate market right now, underwriting restrictions are loosening up, and I think there's more creative products coming out, especially with affordable housing becoming bigger and bigger. I had always worried, and part of the reason why I had never decided to really scale into co-living for like sub-2 deals is because I always thought about the exit, where it's okay, if there's no product for LTR or for co-living underwriting, if it doesn't underwrite as an LTR or an STR, how am I going to exit? Like, how am I going to refinance that loan if I can't get qualified for a loan?
I think that's a lot of it. And I think even on the initial onset, because you got so many people that are looking to get into co-living, that's why we were looking at it too, from just the perspective of even talking with Julian. I want to say here, when we first got here, he was like, yeah, you look at it and you could potentially, there's a coast to coast is one of them that does.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're like the preferred lender for pad split, or one of them.
Yeah.
So that's a good source. If you have one that's already pre-done and you're in that setup that you're stuck, you can do the rehab to post and wait with regards to getting your first loan and then shifting in to get your DSCR.
Yeah.
So that, which is a lot of the pathways that most people will go for co-living, because then you don't have to worry about it. You're getting into your DSCR and then, or getting into your rehab and then shifting it, especially on the programs that like Tempo View has right now. Like, they have a great program for rehab, and then of course you can shift it to long term to do your DSCR. And then they always say to answer the 14 to 16 questions that the ML broker needs. And we don't want all the fluff that goes with it, because sometimes it's better not to know the whole shindig of what's going on and just understand what it is, the objective that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So it sounds like you probably have some funding options on the DSCR side for like Morby Methods, for example, that type of product. Yeah, that's awesome.
Love to collaborate.
Yeah, for sure. I could start sending people your way. I didn't know that, so it's good to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, it's in beta. So if anybody wants to give it a try, just reach on out.
Amazing. So how can people reach out to you directly? How would you prefer that?
Well, we are just launching the Funding Forge, which will be a Facebook page, which will be a direct way for people to understand not just that, but just the other products that we have in the community. Because I'm going to do interviews and connect on a YouTube page, so people get the highlights of all the different people that are doing funding, from credit stacking to all the different, infinite banking, I think is another hot button.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of them. And then we have our HomePad Haven page.
Yeah, our homepadhaven.com, and you can reach me at KT Homepad Haven on Instagram. I've got some exciting things coming up on that too. It's so funny, Mondo, can I tell a little about a credit stacking?
Go for it.
I met a guy named Brian Lever. I can't say his last name. He's French. He's out of Canada. I met him at the Golden Ticket in Phoenix 2 weeks ago. And before, like we were talking about here, how we're already getting value before it even started. Before it even started, in the foyer, right after registration, got to talking to him, and we were just talking about different ideas and credit cards and all that. And then we got on the subject with him and Daniel Lee about getting points for credit cards and stuff like that. And he said, I know a little bit about credit cards. He says, I spent 12 years in the bank industry on the credit fraud part of things. And he says, and then we started talking about credit cards and doing loans and stuff. He says, I'm showing people how to, he said, I'm not showing people. He said, you can take credit card stacking, and if you know how to do it, you can literally get you can get a personal credit card backed by your LLC from your bank, and he says you can get anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 of 0% for 12 months. And he threw it out there just flippantly, and I go, Ryan, dude, I said, man, this is something that people could use. That's a valuable. I said, everybody's looking for money here in this community, and all of a sudden it got his gears turned and the wheels rolling, and he come up with me on the break, he slapped me in the shoulder, he goes, Kevin, that was great, man, that's awesome. So anyway, and literally he's going to show people, he's already started building out a program to where he's showing people how to clean up their credit, or even if they don't have clean up credit, where you can literally take your LLC, go to Wells Fargo or Chase, and you can open up a credit card backed by your LLC and get yourself anywhere from $30,000, $60,000, $100,000, and you can keep upping the limit, and where you can have $100,000, $150,000 worth credit card limit, and then he shows you how to, once that's established, you take it off of your personal, where you did that, it's a hard inquiry on your credit. You take it off and you put it on your business, where it doesn't even show up on your personal inquiry. It's an amazing program. We're going to help him build that out, and we're really excited. He's pumped, we're pumped, and great things are coming with that. We're going to show people how they can literally go get $150,000 worth of credit,
We're like
0% for 12 months, and not even affect their personal line of credit. And if you have more than one LLC, you can wash, rinse, repeat. So you literally, if you have 3 or 4, we have 4 different LLCs.
We've done it for 2.
Yeah, and literally, I just put it in action. I never even tried it. I went down to Chase, and I said, I'd like to. I already had a business account with an LLC, and I go, I'd just like to get a personal credit card and secured by my LLC. They said, okay. Before I left, she went and got me paperwork and signed. She goes, we've been approved for $30,000. So says if you in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. She says, and if you want us to increase your limit, she says, just reach out to us. She says, if you want a business line of credit, she says, I'll introduce you to the loan officer here. We'd love to do business with you. And stuff like that. Did the same thing at Wells Fargo. And in 3 days, right out of the gate, $60,000.
Dang.
0%
Amazing.
interest, 12 months. And that's just, he said, we're just scratching the surface. I believe this is going to be epic. I think people are really going to get value in this because, Mundo, we know everybody's looking for money and affordable money. Capital in all forms. But imagine if you can take your own LLC and get a line of credit and have it interest-free for 12 months. You could do a huge fix and flip. You could do 2 or 3 fix and flips in a year using the bank's money, OPM. Isn't that what Pace tells us? OPM, other people's money. So he's excited about the program. We're excited, and we're just grateful that we're able to collaborate together and come up with some cool ideas and something that we think that will really benefit the community.
Hidden gem at the end. Dropping it at the end. I love it.
And it was so funny, Mondo, because I just knew when it hit him, the light went off in his head, and his eyes just lit up. And afterwards, I told him, I said, man, I could have got back on the plane, went back to Dallas before the event even started, and it would have been worth every penny and then some. It just goes to show you the power of this community.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you about what I said at the beginning, being in the right room and being around like-minded individuals, and the synergy happens here. This is where creative ideas come up, and things just start flowing, and people are just, you're iron sharpening iron, and you're just pouring into each other's lives, and that's how we collaborate and do business together. I love that part of it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Can't tell we're excited.
It sounds like you got many irons in the fire, and all of them are amazing. They're going in the right direction, so I'm really excited to see what that journey looks like for both of you in the next couple of years.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
That's amazing. So I appreciate you coming on today. And again, we haven't even started the retreat, so I'm sure you're going to walk away with even more value than you already have today. You obviously got to watch me fumble around with my podcast equipment.
Mondo, that was awesome, brother. Thank you, really, thank you for your time. Absolutely. It was so gracious of you. Just goes to show your heart. You reaching out to us and just going, okay, we're not one of the big heavyweights in the community, but you're just reaching out and say, hey, who wants to do a podcast? And we're like, yeah. And you just opened up, and then you showed us how to set this all up, and that was huge, what you just showed us. You just saved us a ton of headache and time, and just very grateful for your go-giving attitude. I
appreciate that. I have more headaches to figure out there, but it's you can see it's a lot of work. It's a lot of technology, a lot of setup. It's not as easy. You can really break it down to be super simple. Like the most basic form is cell phone, record. But then obviously you can see how it scales up, and it can get pretty. And then
it gets techno.
Even if you think about external speakers and stuff like that, there's a whole bunch of lighting. That's another thing. Trying to get the right lighting. We don't have the best lighting here today, but there was no way I was fitting huge lights in my area. I wasn't going to go that far.
Oh, no.
People are going to get the spirit of the context of what we're doing and the feeling. And what you may lack in lighting, you make up for with passion and intention. And it's all intentional, and it's just out to help others. And that's what we're all about here, is just helping others benefit and reach their higher potential. I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Yeah. Thank you again. I've taken up more than enough of your time today, but I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of that wisdom and life lessons and a lot of good takeaways there. So I appreciate that.
It's been an honor and a privilege, my friend.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.